Hey y'all, my name is Travis, and today I'm going to be walking through how to build a cost plus invoice. In a separate video, we covered how to build a cost plus estimate. This is more focusing on the invoicing side after you get the job. Obviously, you're going to go through, you're going to record receipts, you're going to record time. We have separate videos that cover those topics, but you'll find yourself in a place where, of course, you need to collect, right? And that's what we're talking about now. So the main nuance here is going to be when you're creating the invoice, you kind of have to choose how you want this to be set up. Do you want it to be set up in a way where your invoices just match how you structured the original proposal? So effectively looking at all of the cost items back in the budget, how much have I spent for each? How much do we want to send off to the customer? To do this, you would switch this to actual cost. And that's saying we don't really want to pay attention to the price we had posted for each item back in the budget. We want to look at how much we've spent. And so you can see here the actual cost to date for each of the items in the budget. I only have a few with cost tied to it. And how much of that do you want to invoice to the customer? So it's defaulting to 100%, the remaining balance. And so you can see here we have a total of $5,800. But when I create the invoice, it's actually for some dollar amount more. So what this is doing, it's applying the profit percentage that was on the approved customer order, and it's adding that on top of the cost. And so what I mean by that, if we go back to the budget for just a moment, when this budget was originally built, you sent it along to the customer with a cost posted and the price to the customer, and that should be at the profit markup that you intend to collect on this job. The reason this is tied back to the line item and just not a generic maybe 20% for the whole job is the simple fact that you might want to charge different percentages for different things on an as-needed basis. So if I go back into that proposal, it's 20% across the board right now, but technically you have the ability to go under edit item details and you can modify the amount being applied to each cost that's been in the system. So if there are certain situations where you just want to do a quick pass through, you don't want to take a profit percentage on top of something, just click edit item details, modify the amount on that particular invoice, and then you're off to the races. So again, this route, this first option for cost plus invoicing is taking the line items from your budget. It's showing the customer how much you paid for that category, and it's applying a profit on top. I highly recommend the show cost and fee setting because that's going to show them the true amount on the receipt. And then down below, it's going to separate your profit into a single line. So it's going to lump the profit for all the line items into a single line, just so again, the customer can see the true cost that was spent. If you wanted to attach supporting documentation, file uploads, receipts, things like that, just know that's possible here with the upload option. All right, moving on from there, I want to go into the second method of cost plus invoicing, probably the more common one, which is invoicing for bills and time. This is taking the actual receipts, it's taking the time entries, it's pulling them directly onto an invoice. And so if I click the checkbox and say create, it's going to take those three receipts and again create an invoice for the customer. I would say this is the more common option between the two methods, simply because it's very open book, it's very clear who we paid, what dollar amount we paid. Again, I'd highly recommend the show cost and fee setting. And just know you don't have to adjust that setting every time. What I would actually recommend is going into your settings under document templates, create a new cost plus invoice if you haven't already. That's really helpful if you do some fixed price jobs, some cost plus. You can apply different settings to each of them just so you don't have to do the changes every time. So you can create a new template, again, call it a cost plus invoice. And then down below, this is where you can say, I do want to show cost and fee by default again, so you don't have to change that setting every time. So I'm going to skip back to that invoice, and this is what we're left with. So again, upload the receipts, kind of provide that supporting documentation. But if everything looks good here, you're going to send it off to the customer and of course collect. One note I wanted to make about the labor items is that currently cost of employing that person per hour is what's passed through on this invoice. So whatever pay rate you have in the system, it's going to use that here as your cost. And again, that same markup percentage is going to be applied to that. So if you're the contractor who really works off billable rates, saying, it's $100 per hour of time, you'll want to go in here under edit item details, and you'll want to override the amount posted to whatever the billable rate is, just to make sure you are collecting what you've earned. The nice thing about this method of invoicing is when this gets sent, when you go record more bills over the next week or two, whatever your pay periods look like, if I go to plus document and I send another invoice, the list is empty. It's cleared out these two receipts and then one time entry simply because we've already invoiced the client for that, right? So when we create from bills and time, it's actually building a relationship between the bill and the invoice. And so the next time you go in, it's going to exclude that as being eligible to invoice to the customer. If for whatever reason you need to go in and see those old bills, you can look at if they've been invoiced or not. And here you will have the full list of bills, and then you can see the green check mark showing that connection to a previous invoice. So that's the basics of cost plus invoicing. I mean, it is quite different, of course, than fixed price, where you're just invoicing maybe for a percentage of the project, right? And this is actually open book, showing receipts, kind of communicating what you've spent off to the customer. But again, that's the nature of the beast. So if you guys have any questions at all, please reach out to support@jobtread.com. Thanks so much.